So I am planning out my content for like the week. My baby, my son is sleeping right here. He's on the monitor. I'm watching him, but I have these moments of time where I feel like doing a YouTube channel is kind of a lot with everything else that I have going on, and then also the fact that it is biblically based and like Christian content. So sometimes I feel like that is a little bit of a burden, but then I realize that I have 100% like feel called or have felt called to do this by the Lord. And so it's shown me how much I need to rely on Him all the time in order to do a good job and just feel like I'm providing good content and also just very like biblically based content and truthful content and stuff like that. Um, but as I was sitting here kind of planning it and trying to figure out like shorts and just because I just started my channel, what that looks like, because I have no idea about YouTube at all. Um, I'm just like praying. I'm like, okay, Lord, like tell me what you want me to do. Like, give me these ideas. And something that kind of came to me that I was going to do a short on, but, I think that just doing this video is a little bit better. Is God, like my time with God has changed so much since having a child. I used to be for probably like 3 or 4 or 5 years straight, no joke. I would be able to get up and I got my coffee, I got a comfy blanket, I would sit on my couch and read my Bible, have quiet time with God, pray, be able to do that and every single morning basically before starting my day. And that's just not the case anymore, right? Like my life has completely changed. I haven't been able to do that. I just don't have the time to really do that right now. And I've had conversations with some of my girlfriends in the past that either they're in that season of life because they have kids or they feel guilty because they don't do that every single morning or their quiet times look different than, just like sitting on the couch with God, which would be lovely and amazing in a perfect world of us wanting to do that and being able to do that, but that's just not necessarily realistic. And seasons in our lives like change, right? So we go through lots of different seasons. When I was single, it was different than when I was married. And now that I have a kid, like they're just, your life changes. And God knows that. Like it's okay to recognize that the way that your relationship with God changes is not a bad thing. Like would I love to be able to have a quiet time with God every single morning in the early morning hours by myself? Yes, I would love that, but I just don't get to right now. And I think it's really important for us to recognize that number one, Satan uses guilt if we're not perfectly sitting down and having this one-on-one time with God. Satan uses that guilt to drive us further away. So, if we're not having that time with God, then it's like, well, I feel really bad and I'm not gonna, now I just don't have time to read the Bible, or now God's mad at me, or just all of these things that are untrue, but Satan uses that guilt against us to separate or even just create in our minds less time with God. And so that's the first thing that we have to realize. The second thing is that God knows our heart, right? Like God knows I would love to have these quiet mornings with Him, but He also knows that right now I have kids and I have a job and I do everything else that I do on a daily basis, just like everybody. And so if you're in a season of life where you don't get to have this like perfectly curated devotional time with Him, that's okay because He knows your heart. And so if your heart is that you want to spend time with Him, and if your heart is that you are trying to grow in your relationship with Him, then we have to look at our time with Him as more than just like a sit down quiet time. And what I mean by this is God is with us all the time, but we don't act like He is. And this is something that I have learned a lot in the last year of having a kid is it's going to look different than it did before, but that also means that I'm able to put more emphasis on the small moments that I do have time because he's with me all of the time. So, when I am in the shower, I pray a lot because that's like a moment to myself. And it's quiet, right? Like I get a moment to him, or when I'm doing the dishes, or when I'm in the car, just finding little moments in your day. They don't have to be perfect, but whether that's listening to Christian music, saying a prayer, or asking God to kind of like be in that moment with you, He is all of the time. And so my relationship has really morphed into, in the Bible it says pray without ceasing. And so my relationship has really morphed into more of a day to day time with God in these little moments. And I really cherish those because it actually gets my heart and my mind in this posture of God is with me in everything, and I can come to Him in everything at any moment in time. It doesn't have to be, oh, well, I missed my quiet time this morning, so I'm going to have to try to start that over and redo that tomorrow. No, trust me, that's not how it works. And that's also, not feasible for a lot of people. And so I would just encourage you, if you are kind of in this season right now where things are really crazy and you're starting the new year, you have kids, or you're just trying to figure out where to spend time with God, it starts right now. Like you can literally talk to Him whenever you want, about whatever you want. And I think that's something that we just have to remember is like God wants to hear from us at any point in time in anything, even when you are frustrated, even when you are, challenged or sad or going through something. He wants to hear what's on your heart because number one, He already knows what's on your heart. But also, number two, that is a way for you to lean into Him and lean into His strength and to recognize that He is with you through everything all of the time. And if we were to act like that more often, I think we would see God moments way more in our day to day, even when they're pretty mundane, right? Like my day is pretty boring when it comes to like adventurous things. Like my son keeps me on my toes all of the time. He is a wild child and I absolutely love it. But, I do the same things every day, take care of him, work, because I have my own business. So I work when he naps, doing the laundry, taking the dog out, cleaning the kitchen, picking up his toys. Like I do these things all day, every day, and it is mundane, but at the same time, like those are the things that when I am doing something, I try to talk to Him or pray to Him or just think about how I am serving my family and how that leads to being able to bless my family and just having that mindset of more so a kingdom perspective and that God is with you all of the time, no matter what you're doing, has really allowed me to see God in more ways that are just the normal type of day to day things instead of the big spectacular moments. So that's just an encouragement because I have had multiple conversations with multiple women, especially that feel really guilty that they can't have this, like I said, perfectly curated devotional time in the morning. And so then they just don't do anything throughout the day because they feel guilty from missing that morning spot with God. Where it's like, no, like even if you can pull up an app on your phone and read a verse for 5 minutes, or when you are driving in your car, instead of turning on music, listen to someone reading the Bible or listen to Christian music, or don't listen to music and pray and just talk to God. Like it doesn't have to be anything formal when we're praying. Literally just talking to God is prayer. He just wants that communication back and forth. It doesn't have to be anything, you know, curated or anything that is supposed to be like perfectly tied with a bow. He already knows our messes. He already knows what's going on in our hearts, in our lives. And if we were to just talk with Him throughout the day a little bit more, that would put our focus and our mind on Him more often. And then the way that we see the world around us is going to change because we are way more centered on God throughout our day to day, because that's just how we've created our relationship with Him. So that's just a good reminder, I think, especially if you're struggling to find like a perfect amount of time or just like time by yourself to read the Bible. Just try to do just try to talk to Him throughout the day and see what happens.